Hey guys, Sean here. This is going to be a hopefully not too long video on MOSFETs, also featuring 3 of my personal builds. These are not all of my personal builds, I have many. But these are just a few of my version 2 platform builds that all have similar MOSFETs in them. This is a video about simple MOSFETs like the Apex Python MOSFET from clandestineairsoft.com, and these two are the NukeFETs from brillarmory.com. I'm going to talk about what MOSFETs do for your gun, why you should use MOSFETs, and why that should be one of the first upgrades you do in your gun. Basically, what a MOSFET does is, move these to the side. What a MOSFET does is it transfers, rather than the energy, the electrical energy flowing straight from the battery to the trigger contacts and then to the motor, it transfers it directly from the battery to the motor. What the problem with normal wire configurations, basically non-lipos, just standard wiring, what the problem with that is, all the energy goes from your battery up the wires to the contacts, all the energy is flowing through the contacts, and then to your motors. What the problem with that is your trigger contacts, these guys right here, these little tabs, that when you pull your trigger, they connect, and that's what completes the electrical circuit, and causes the gun to fire. What the problem with normal wiring is on higher voltage batteries like lipos, even 9.6 volt batteries will destroy the trigger contacts because of all the energy flowing through. Those, they're not very durable. They're just thin tabs of copper. So they slowly or quickly, depending on the voltage battery you're using, they will eat away the contacts, and then your gun won't fire anymore. So what a MOSFET does is transfers the energy directly from the battery to the motor. It has these thin signal wires, these very small wires, going from your energy draw to the contacts, just so it basically signals the battery and motor to shoot the gun. So you're only using very, very, very little electricity to complete the circuit, and the rest of the electricity from your battery is going directly to your motor. So with a MOSFET, your trigger contacts will probably never, ever, ever get eaten up by electrical current, and it'll prolong the life of your trigger contacts pretty much forever. Also, being as the energy is flowing directly from your battery to your motor instead of going through the contacts, it will increase your rate of fire and your trigger response by a lot. It won't increase your rate of fire by a lot. It may be 2 to 5 RPS, but your trigger response will definitely increase quite a bit. Same thing with switching to DINs. When you have DINs connectors, you have less electrical. Can't think of the word. You have less electrical resistance when you switch to DINs connectors, so those will also increase your trigger response, and yeah, so you'll just have more energy flowing to your motor. So basically, now that you know what MOSFETs do for your gun, they prolong the life of your contacts, they prolong the life of other parts, they increase rate of fire and trigger response. you know, they do a lot of great things for your guns. You can also get programmable ones to shoot burst, have precocking features, other things like that. These are just standard MOSFETs. They don't have any of the programmable things in them. They just work as a MOSFET. How I have these two configured. This is my VFC M4 gearbox, and this is my D-Boys Scar L gearbox, and then this gearbox over here is my newest project, doing a DMR from a VFC M16 base gun. But anyway, the way I have these two configured are very similar to each other. And it's not the best way to do it, but it is an okay way to do it. Basically, I'm going to take the camera up right here. Basically how these are set up is I have the positive wire, which is this green one, the negative wire is this white one, and the negative signal wire is the blue one, and then this red one that's spliced into the green is the positive signal wire. Basically the issue with this is there's not a lot of room down here for this thicker wiring, and plus stacking this extra wire here. And I have it running down to where it normally goes, positive side of your motor, and then right here the red wire is spliced into it. By crossing it here, as you can see, it can get eaten up by the pinion gear, which can cause problems. Same thing with this one. It can get eaten up by the pinion gear. And this one was more likely to happen because this is 14 gauge wiring, and that's a lot thicker, so it's sticking in there more. And I have this one set up the same way, where I have it spliced into the positive. Both of these are really nice builds though. I do want to go over them briefly because I said I would feature my personal builds in this. What I have set up here: VFC ball bearing steel spring guide, stock VFC M120 spring. Getting about 420 FPS on this gun. This is my VFC M4. If you follow me on Instagram at Airsoft and Milsim, you've probably seen it a lot. This is SHS piston, Swiss cheese, Terminus X teeth. These teeth are very strong. Unfortunately, you can't get Terminus X stuff anymore because they went out of business. But these teeth have went through hundreds of thousands of rounds, and they have pretty much no wear on them at all. I have them short stroked, one tooth. Lonex POM piston head. This is my cylinder head and my cylinder are both Magic Box. AIM top tappet plate. They're very strong and cheap to buy. Speed trigger, SHS contacts, SHS safety lever. VFC anti-reversal latch, and my gears are Terminus X. They are made out of the same material as the Gen 1 Siegetechs, so they're very strong gears. They're CNC machined. I have these short stroke by one tooth, and yeah, they're very, very, very strong gears. They'll last a long time. Here's my Scar L. In this I have a core double O-ring POM nozzle. Oh yeah, this is also a core double O-ring POM nozzle. SHS contacts, ZCI cylinder head, APS cylinder that I got out of a random APS AK, ZCI aluminum ball bearing spring guide, core M120 spring, SHS purple piston, Swiss cheesed, and on all these guns I have the AOE corrected and perfected. Super shooter POM piston head. Alright, ZCI 13:1 reinforced steel gears, XYT anti-reversal latch, and a Lonex tappet plate. That's about it for this build, I believe. Lonex gearbox shell, very nice. Oh, and the bearings I have in this one are just the stock Lonex ones that came with it. I'm gonna get Modify Ceramics in this one soon. In my VFC M4 I have Modify Ceramics in it, as you can see. Try to get a better picture of them, but it's not one to zoom. There we go. Modify Ceramics in the VFC M4, and Lonex bearings in the Scar L. Next up I have this gun. This is not at all completed. This is my newest project. It's a Retro Arms V2 gearbox shell, Lonex steel bushings, SHS, Lonex tappet plate, nuke fet. These are Siegetech 10:1 single sector gear. Very, very, very nice gears. They're awesome and I love them. They're gonna last a long time. ZCI steel cylinder. I'm waiting on a Lonex version 2 cylinder head to come in the mail. Super shooter palm piston head, and SHS lightweight piston. Also stock VFC spring guide and anti-reversal latch. Also I have a Retro Arms adjustable air nozzle, which is gonna be pretty awesome. Alright, back to MOSFETs. I just wanted to go over my builds briefly. Back to MOSFETs though. The best way I have found to configure one, these two ways are obviously decent, but they're not the best because they do have some wires getting chewed up. This is the best way that I have found to configure your wires, and if you don't have a Retro Arms shell, you might have to modify your shell a little bit because you're going to have two wires coming out the rear. But basically how this setup works is, you know, you have your both your positive, negative, and first signal wire running through. You have your positive and negative motor wires coming out the rear hole, and then instead of being spliced right here and having the positive come across through here and having it spliced right about here, it's spliced over here, so the only wires running through here are your two signal wires, which are the very thin, small wires. So this way, if you keep them taped down, they're so small they won't ever get eaten up by the pinion gear. So that's the best way that I've found to do it. Retro Arms gearbox shells have really wide wire slots, so I'm able to fit both of these wires in without modifying it. You might have to widen the holes in your gearbox shell, but this is definitely the best way that I have found to do this. But yeah, I believe that's all I need to say about MOSFETs and showing off a couple of my personal builds. Hope you guys enjoy. If you do have any questions, comment below. Hit me up on Instagram. My username is @airsoftandmilsim, no underscores, one word. Same thing with my kick. It is airsoftandmilsim. Just one long word. But if you have any questions about MOSFETs, how to install them, how to splice the wiring for the positive signal wire into the positive motor wire, let me know, and I'll be glad to help. Alright, thanks guys. Thanks for watching.